Most people think food reactions are obvious. You eat something and immediately feel bad. But what if your immune system was reacting to foods that you eat every single day and you have no idea? I ran a comprehensive blood test measuring my immune response to 88 different foods. And the results completely changed how I think about food sensitivities, allergies, and gut health. One of my most frequently eaten foods, one that I considered healthy, ranked at the very top of my immune reactivity. In today's video, I'm going to break down the difference between food allergies and food sensitivities. I'll walk you through my actual food allergy and sensitivity test results and what they mean. And I'll talk about why I don't recommend a food sensitivity test for everybody. I'm Sierra, a functional medicine certified coach and founder of The Aligned Feminine, a community supporting women to heal their gut and hormones naturally. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to interpret food allergy and sensitivity results properly and why this test is not the first lab that I order for my clients. Let's start by clearing up the confusion around food allergies versus food sensitivities. There are different types of immune responses to food, and they mean very different things. Now, this first column here, IgE, this is what we consider a classic allergy. This is when you have immediate symptoms, things like hives, swelling, breathing issues, anaphylaxis. This is fast, potentially dangerous, and it's a type of reaction people typically think of when they hear the words food allergy. Now, IgG actually indicates food sensitivities. These are more delayed reactions. They can happen hours or even days later. So this is where you can have things like chronic inflammation, digestive issues, fatigue, skin problems, and not even know that it's related to the food that you're eating. So your immune system is reacting, but it's more subtle and ongoing. And then we have what's called IgG4, and this is super interesting. If you're allergic to a food, IgG4 can actually block those allergic reactions, and it's an indication of immune tolerance. So I'll explain more about that when I show you my test results. So these are my actual test results from 2024. I call this the Allergy 88 test because it tests your immune response to 88 different foods. So up here at the top, you can see we have 4 different immune markers. IgE, that's for the allergies like we talked about. IgG, that's for your food sensitivities. And then IgG4. So remember, this is where this can be an indication for tolerance. So that can actually help to block the allergic response. And then we have this fourth column here. This is C3D, which I'll just call complement. And this is important to look at because it can amplify your immune response to a food by 1,000-fold. Now, typically, most doctors will just test you for your allergies. That's this column here, which is the IgE. And if you have a lot of food sensitivities and food allergies, it's important to kind of get this full picture here with all of the different immune responses, because obviously that gives you a much better picture of what's actually going on in the body. You can see here, it even tests for Aspergillus. This is actually a mold. So you can see if your body is reacting to mold from the environment, or Candida here, which is a pathogenic yeast. Obviously, we're not trying to eat mold and candida, but this is testing to see if you've had exposure to these things and if your body is reacting to it. So you can see here, I'm actually having a moderate IgG4 reaction to Aspergillus, which is basically mold. And that's telling me that I've had some exposure to it in the past. My body has learned to adapt to it and not overreact. Now, molds can be found in all sorts of places. It's in the air, it's in peanuts, it's in the regular coffee you eat and drink every day. So that's why I actually avoid eating peanuts and I choose to buy mold-free coffee brands. If you're interested in that, I'll list the top 3 mold-free coffee brands in the description below this video. But I want to show you this column here, immune tolerance. This is when your IgG4 is greater than your IgE antibodies. This is where you can get that immune tolerance that we talked about. So let's go through a few of these. Now, casein here, this is actually a protein that's found in milk, which you can see I do have an immune tolerance for that, as well as a food sensitivity. And here's cow's milk. I've also developed an immune tolerance for cow's milk. but I still have a moderate food sensitivity to the protein in milk, which could explain why I get digestive reactions towards milk, so I usually avoid it. Now, the most surprising result for me on this test was my reaction to eggs. This is something that I eat actually every day, and I don't notice any type of reaction at all. I don't feel like I have an allergy. You can see here egg albumin, that's the egg whites. I have an allergy to it, but I also have high IgG4, so I've built up a tolerance. So that's blocking that allergic reaction, but I still have a very high IgG food sensitivity to both the egg whites and the egg yolk here. So what is that telling me? It's telling me that my immune system is recognizing these egg proteins that I'm eating every day. And this tells me that I might be overdoing it with all of the eggs, so I might need to take a break from that, just short term until my body recalibrates. Now I want to point out this cacao here as well. So I do have a moderate food sensitivity to the cacao, but what's interesting to note is this C3D here is also moderate. So let me explain a little bit more about the C3D, which is part of the complement system. It's one of our immune system's inflammatory amplification mechanisms, which basically means that my immune reaction is 1,000-fold greater than just the IgG alone because of this complement system. Now, if I was experiencing symptoms, they would typically be subtle and delayed. Things like having fatigue after eating chocolate, brain fog, skin inflammation, digestive symptoms, headaches. Now, luckily, I don't notice these kinds of symptoms, so I'm actually not too worried about it, and I don't really eat cacao anyways. I'm not big on chocolate. But if these types of symptoms are common for you, then the Allergy 88 test might be worth looking into to help point you in the right direction. Now, I'm not going to go through every single allergen on this list here, but I wanted to show you this page, which is the less restrictive diet. It gives you two options. One is for a less restrictive diet. This is just a temporary diet. Keep in mind, this is not forever, but this could be maybe for the next 8 to 12 weeks, just to give your body a break. And what it's recommending for me is to obviously avoid eggs. And I could also choose to avoid cow's milk as well, which I think I will because I know I have a reaction to cow's milk. And then you can rotate these items here. Now, I don't really eat a lot of these items anyway, so it's not something I'm super worried about. That's pretty easy for me to do. I would say the hardest thing for me to remove would be those eggs because I do eat that daily. And then if we scroll down here, you can see this is the more restrictive diet. I normally don't recommend going this route unless you have something extreme like autoimmune, or maybe you have multiple food allergies and sensitivities, because this is a pretty intense restriction, even though it is designed to only be temporary. Remember, just because something is on this list doesn't mean you have to avoid these foods forever, because that could lead to things like nutrient deficiencies, loss of tolerance, anxiety around food, and it's just not overall sustainable. And down here at the bottom, we have the immune index. And this just puts my highest reactivity foods in order. So as you can see, eggs and cacao, that's there at the top. You can also see oats and lima beans, which I don't really eat, so I'm not worried about that. So my biggest takeaway from these test results is that I probably need to take a break from eating so many eggs right now, maybe avoid chocolate for a while, and then see how I feel after 8 to 12 weeks when I start to reintroduce those foods again. But here's what I want you to know about food sensitivities. Having a high IgG reactivity does not automatically mean that food is harming you, and it doesn't mean that you have to eliminate that food forever. In many cases, IgG simply reflects that you've had frequent exposure to that food. So the more you eat a food, the more antibodies you produce towards it. And your immune system starts to remember those foods that you've eaten and produces the IgG. So the real question you need to ask yourself is that immune response causing me problems? So if you have things like chronic inflammation, leaky gut, digestive issues, skin problems, or autoimmune conditions, then yes, reducing those high reactivity foods just temporarily is going to give your immune system a break while you address your underlying gut issues. But if I was working with you one-on-one, this would not be the first test I would order for you, because if anything, this test only shows us the symptoms but it doesn't help us identify what the root cause of those symptoms are. So here's what the Allergy 88 test does really well. It helps to show us some patterns and answer questions like, which foods does my immune system recognize most strongly? Where is my immune system most active? Are there patterns in my immune reactivity? For example, when I look at my results, I can see high reactivity to eggs and dairy, a moderate reactivity to grains like gluten, oat, and barley, and then some reactivity to nightshades, things like tomatoes and white potatoes, and also an indication of previous mold exposure. So these patterns tell me something is going on with my gut and immune system, but they don't tell me why. In functional medicine, the goal is always to understand immune patterns while addressing the deeper root cause, like your gut barrier integrity. Do you have leaky gut? Your microbiome balance? Do you have dysbiosis, which means basically not a good balance between your good bacteria and the bad bacteria? Any infections or deficiencies in your good bacteria? And immune regulation. Is my immune system overactive or dysregulated? Once you address these root causes, many of these immune responses will normalize over time. This is why I always order the root cause gut test first. This is a comprehensive stool test that will show me things like, are there any pathogenic bacteria, parasites, and viruses that could be causing inflammation or damaging your gut lining? Is there any overgrowth of opportunistic bacteria that could trigger immune responses? It shows me the levels of your good bacteria, as well as if there's any candida or yeast overgrowth in the gut. It helps to measure your digestive enzyme function, so whether or not you're breaking down your food properly, as well as any inflammation or leaky gut markers, and even your immune function. Because if you have something like H. pylori, SIBO, parasites, or overgrowth of bad bacteria, or deficiencies in your good bacteria, then that's the root cause of that immune reactivity in the first place. So if I just told you to remove eggs and dairy based on that Allergy 88 test, but you still had active gut infections or leaky gut, chronic gut inflammation, low digestive enzymes, or maybe overgrowth of bad bacteria, then your immune system will stay reactive no matter what you do. And instead, you'll just end up developing new food sensitivities to whatever you start eating instead. This is why we use the 5R framework in functional medicine. So step 1 is remove. This is where we remove the pathogens that we find on your stool test. You know, the H. pylori, parasites, bad bacteria, infections, and toxins. So not just the foods. Step 2 is where we replace. So if you need to support your digestive enzymes, stomach acid, or bile flow. Step 3 is reinoculate with probiotics and prebiotics, but we can get really specific on the strains that you need based on a personalized stool test. So the root cause gut test tells you what's happening in these first 3 steps. It can be very specific. And that's before we get to step 4. That's where we actually start to repair the gut lining. We work on repairing any leaky gut. And finally, step 5 is rebalance. We talk about lifestyle practices, things like stress and sleep. And this is the exact framework that I cover inside my community, the Aligned Feminine, which I'll share more about in a moment. So who should get the Allergy 88 test? I would only order this test as an add-on to a root cause gut test. And I would recommend it more for someone who has 1 or more autoimmune diseases, maybe has multiple food allergies or sensitivities, and also has the budget to be able to afford the additional testing, because we always want to get that root cause gut test first. Now, I totally get that not everyone is ready to invest in advanced testing. And that's exactly why I created the Aligned Feminine. This is my private school community where I teach the foundations of gut health and hormone balance using natural healing protocols and functional medicine. This is where you can start with the foundational gut healing and see how much you can improve before ordering any advanced testing. Inside of the community, you get deep dives into your gut health, hormones, detox, and functional wellness. You get access to the Gut Reset Challenge, which is the proven 5R framework that thousands have used, and a supportive community where you can ask questions and connect with other women on the same journey as you. I'll drop the link to the community just below this video. But here's the bottom line. Your immune system is not broken. It's responding to your environment. And if you have multiple food sensitivities, it's not a life sentence. The solution is number one, find the root cause with a comprehensive stool test, and then heal the gut with the proven 5R framework and temporarily reduce those high reactivity foods. And then lastly, reintroduce those systematically as your gut heals. Your immune system is dynamic. It changes as your gut health improves. Many of these food sensitivities will resolve once you address leaky gut, rebalance your microbiome, and reduce inflammation. So if you're not ready for advanced testing, start with the foundational work inside the Aligned Feminine community. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up so that other women struggling with multiple food sensitivities can find it, and also subscribe for weekly gut health and hormone content. Finally, comment below and tell me, have you done food sensitivity tests? Let me know if you were surprised by your results below. And I'll see you inside the Aligned Feminine.